The four humours were first postulated by Hippocrates, a classical Greek physician, in 400 BC. The idea was revolutionary in that diseases were no longer caused by divine punishment, but rather as a natural consequence of one's lifestyle. The four humours were thought to regulate all of the body's functions such as digestion, proper nutrient distribution, and wound healing. Proper health is associated with a proper balance and inner working of the humours. The first humour was sanguine, or blood. It was produced by the liver, its element was air, its qualities were hot and moist, and its complexion and body type were red-cheeked and corpulent. The second humour was choleric, and its body substance was yellow bile. It was produced by the spleen, its element was fire, its qualities were hot and dry, and its complexion and body type were red-haired and thin. The third type of humour was phlegmatic, or phlegm. It was produced by the lungs, its element was water, its qualities were cold and moist, its complexion and body type are corpulent. The final type of humour is melancholic, and its body substance is black bile. It was produced by the gallbladder. Its element was earth, its qualities were cold and dry, and its complexion and body type are sallow and thin.
The humours were thought to vaporize upon crossing from the body to the brain, and this was thought to be responsible for subtle mental functions. The four humours signified differences in age, gender, and behavior. The first humour, yellow bile or choler, was associated with activeness and quick-temperedness. People with choler tended to make fast decisions and made actions before thinking. As Brutus describes in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar of Act 4, Scene 3, "Must I give way and room to your rash choler? Shall I be frighted when a madman stares?" And a surplus of choler was thought to turn into black bile. The next bile, black bile, or melancholy. A proper balance of black bile meant that the person had usual periods of melancholy. Black bile was usually responsible for contemplation and appreciation of the arts. Too much black bile, however, was thought to lead to symptoms like depression and could lead to even more serious mental illnesses. Pale and sallow was also related to black bile. The third humour, blood, was associated with sanguine temperament. Blood was associated with balancing, even-temperedness, and being able to judge people and situations fairly, and being able to keep one's mood under control. This was considered to be the most desirable humour. However, excess of blood could lead to good moods, but also indifference to others and insensitivity. The final humour, phlegm, was associated with lethargy. Slowness, sleepiness, runny nose, lack of energy, and unmotivation were also symptoms of phlegm. Combined with choler, this would cause calmness and serenity, and the ability to concentrate and judge others.
Mental illness in Elizabethan England. It was thought that melancholy, or depression, was primarily caused by an excess of black bile. Too much black bile was thought to have driven people mad. Many believed that black bile was the humor of the devil, who could control the black bile in a person. Demons were thought to torture people to insanity by showing them hallucinations. Some mental illnesses were thought to be a direct result of manipulation of a person through their black bile by the devil himself, while other cases of demonic possession were thought to be sent by God for atonement of sins. The main approach toward treating these disorders was bloodletting, where doctors cut a main vessel in a patient's arm and allowed it to bleed. If the blood was clean and red, the humours would be balanced, and the bloodletting would stop. But if the blood was blackish or thick, doctors would keep letting it bleed on regular intervals until imbalance was fixed. Another approach was leeching, where a doctor attaches several leeches to a patient's forehead. This was similarly believed to relieve excess black bile. In addition, chemicals secreted by the leech would prevent blood clotting, letting blood flow better, which indicated humoral balance. The final, last resort was to place the patient in a mental hospital where patients were treated like animals. They were regularly beaten and chained in tight places. Hospitals became like prisons that worsened symptoms instead of helping them.